Ready to rank? Perfect. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to a special public hearing of the Housing Authority of the Birmingham District. This meeting is called to order. Let's pause for a moment of silence. Amen. Now we have a roll call of commissioners. Vice Chairman Pantazis.
Present virtually.
Virtually, yes, thank you. Commissioner Thompson. Not here. Commissioner Barnes
Present.
and Commissioner Lewis.
Present.
All right, we have a quorum, so this meeting will officially be called to order with a quorum. Now I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as printed.
I make a motion that we adopt the agenda as printed.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that we adopt the agenda as printed. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Any opposed? All right, that item carries. And now we will have presentation of the HABD annual plan for fiscal year 2023.
Good afternoon, commissioners.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
All those that are present on Zoom and in person. We'd like to present to you our HABD annual plan for fiscal year 2023. And just to give you an update, we're on track as relates to up to the submission of the plan. We posted the draft plan on our website on January 20th, 2022. It went for comment period for 45 days. No comments were received during that time. We had a discussion with our resident advisory board. We had two meetings. We had one on March 11th and one on March 18th with full support of the advisory board. And we had about 9 out of 14 present. We're on schedule for the public hearing, which is due on April 15th. So at this time, I'll ask Ms. Cosette Todd to come forward. She will lead us in the plan, and following her would be the other department heads to discuss their areas.
Good afternoon.
No.
The Housing Authority of the Birmingham District was incorporated in 1935. It is the largest housing authority in Alabama and ranks 17th in the country under the Public Housing Code. Currently, HABD has 4,090 public housing units, 6,130 housing first stoppers, with a total of 10,206 units and vouchers. HABD has been a committed leader in providing affordable housing for qualified families in the city of Birmingham. The ultimate vision is to empower self-sufficiency, economic advancement, and quality living for a successful future. HABD is a standard PHA, and today we will present the annual plan for public comment. We will begin with the revisions of PHA elements, followed by the new activities. First, we will discuss the Statement of Housing Needs and Strategy for Addressing Housing Needs by Ms. Mars, which can be found on page 5. And each department will follow thereafter.
And just as a point of clarification, Ms. Foster, I know it's like 120 pages in here. Are we just going to be covering the things that have changed since the last presentation of the document, or are we going to be doing a thorough presentation?
Yes, the first part is going to be revisions, things that have changed from the previous annual plan, things that we want to add to that. And then the second part is going to be sharing new activities, but it's going to be shared on a summary status.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Attachment A, Statement of Housing Needs and Strategy. This page really supposed to go under the governed eligibility, selection, and admissions, but this is new to the plan, but it is not new to the ACOP, which is the admission, continued, and occupancy policy. How to apply and interviews and verification process. There is really no change there. It's still the same. If you follow over to attachment B,
deconcentration, and other policies and govern eligibility, selection and admissions. Deconcentration is here because we have to update the incomes annually. It includes sites that have income above the median income. The average income of HABD public housing communities is the chart below that shows you the average incomes for those communities. It also includes in here the flat rents and homeownership programs. There's no change to those programs. Everything is still the same. If you flip over to the next page, which is 8, the next part talks about improvement and upgrades that has to do with maintenance, maintenance plans for the year. In here, we have all exterior lighting, old lighting, which has been upgraded in most of our properties, all our properties, pretty with LED lighting. We also have included in here the Southtown, Marks Village, Freedom Ether, and also the sites. Some of those sites have already been completed, and actually they've already been occupied. We have energy efficient commodes for some of them. Working family preferences. We have 2 sites that have that, and that's Harris Homes and Cooper Green. They've adopted the working family preference.
Mhm.
Is there any questions? Okay. We'll have Ms. Drake. She'll go over the selection and petition plan for housing vouchers.
Good afternoon. So if
Afternoon.
we flip over to page 9, these are the sections that were updated throughout the year for the Housing Choice Voucher Program. You see A, section 11, selection and participation plan for the Housing Choice Voucher. We updated in the FYI, which is the Foster Youth to Independence Initiative. During the past year, HUD updated the percentage of vouchers or the amount of vouchers that they would allocate for each public housing authority, which initially was only 25 per fiscal year. They added that you may request additional vouchers if you obtain a 90% or greater utilization. Also, if you flip over and go to page 10, the turnover rate for the FYI program was updated, and the youth failure to use a voucher. Both of those go hand in hand. What I mean by that, initially, if you requested a voucher per foster youth, if that foster youth did not use that voucher, you had to send it back. However, they amended that and said, if you get other referrals for that program, you can then just give that voucher to that youth. So we had to amend our administrative plan to reflect the regulations. On down to section C, 14, orientation of families and issuance of housing choice voucher. Of course, this was during the time where COVID was very heavy. And so what we did is added the virtual setting for the briefing or housing voucher holders. For the information packet, we added via electronic mail or any other electronic means. Down to section D, we added where it says informal review for applicants. We added over the phone, virtual platform, or any other platform that HABD deems necessary to conduct said reviews. We added that verbiage for the informal reviews for applicants and the formal hearings for the program participants. Next, on the special transfers of relocation by authority for victims or crime in public housing. We added those as waiting list preferences, which include, we also removed the other local preferences that we had, which were homeless, displaced, and working families. Again, the preferences that we added were public housing demo dispo, which is 5 points, public housing crime victims, 5 points, public housing uninhabitable, 5 points. Most recently, we added the veteran and veteran family preference, which was solely for the villas at Titusville, which is 8 points. You flip over, the next one that we added was litigation, which is 5 points. Moving on down to the emergency housing voucher exhibit, section F, exhibit L. We added that total section to the administrative plan in July, and that is because we were awarded 91 emergency housing vouchers or EHV vouchers through the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. And through this section that we added, we included definitions for homelessness that you see on the bottom of that page. Flip over. It includes an individual or family who will immediately lose their, homelessness, at risk of homelessness, which is at the bottom of page 13. I won't read the definitions for you. Page 14, individuals or families who are fleeing or attempting to flee domestic violence. And one more page, flip over to page 16. Individuals or families who are or have been recently defined as being homeless. So all of that and the following pages are as it relates to the emergency housing voucher program that we added in July. Flip over to page 18. And we added or updated our subsidy standards. Some of the things that updated with our subsidy standards, which also closely aligns with the voucher size, is that a person of the opposite sex will be allocated a separate bedroom. Family members of different generations will be allocated separate bedrooms. A pregnant individual with no other household members may be allocated a 2-bedroom. And then dependents of the same sex with an age difference of 10 years will be allocated separate bedrooms. Okay, and now we're down to financial resources.
Thank you, Ms. Drake. All right, if you turn over to page 20, attachment C, financial resources. It's from HUD Form 50075.2. It has been approved by HUD. These are financial resources, planned sources, and their uses. The source is federal grants for FY 2021. We have Public Housing Operating Fund of $30,743,329. We have Public Housing Capital Fund of $12,867,051. There's no more Hope 6 revitalization. Annual contribution for Section 8 tenant-based assistance is $46,404,310. Resident Opportunity and Self-Sufficiency Grants, or the Ross Grant, is $150,000. Other federal Ross grants are $414,048. We move down to prior year federal grants, unobligated funds, they're listed below. We have public housing dwelling rental income of $6.2 million. That's planned uses is for operations. You have your emergency and safety grants of $447,518. The uses for operations. You have your emergency solutions grant, ESG, from the city of Birmingham for $820,000. That's funded for operations. Other income listed below, sales and services, $200,000. Other income of $68,000, for total resources of $98,314,256. Thank you.
Attachment D, rent determination. Statement of flat rents. There's actually no changes. Last year, or actually in 2020, HUD had suspended the increase of flat rents, and they actually are based on it. Well, they didn't suspend the increase of flat rents. flat rents are based on 80% of the area fair market. And there has to be at least 80% of the fair market rent for there to be an increase. Our fair markets did not go down. There was no change between 2020 and 2021. Fair markets did not go down, therefore we didn't make a change to the fair market rents. So there was no extra change for the fair market rents this year. So we were keeping them the same. So there was actually no changes in those. Next to be.
Okay, the next is for additional changes to the Section 8 administrative plan, which included an interim change policy. What that policy basically stated was all increases in income shall be reported during the annual reexamination period. The Housing Authority, of course, will always update any decreases in income.
Okay, information technology. First, we want to start out about some improvements that have been made through the course of the year with the annual plan. Our clients and landlords. Currently, our clients can make rental payments, submit a work order, complete housing application, apply for HCV, check their waiting list status. Our landlords can make housing assistant payments, check their client lists, unit inspection status, and request for direct deposit. Of course, it's available online now at www.habdportals.org. Also, we're looking to make improvements as far as our communities with our Wi-Fi throughout all the communities. We're currently we have met with different vendors and to get quotes. We will have those quotes. Also, we're asking and talking to them about the digital inclusion funding that they have received from the government to get best pricing. And we have several vendors that we're talking with, engaging with, like Verizon, AT&T, Spectrum, and also some couple private solution providers. And of course, I know Ms. Foster mentioned last time we had a board meeting that we had applied for grants, and we're still waiting to get the results from that as well. And then next, we recently updated our process as far as our invoices, as far as processing invoices electronically. We have this new system, which has been in place now for over a year, which is already, they have an electronic invoice process method that we're using. Recently, the staff internally has been trained on how to use that process. We're about 3 weeks into that. Once we have it down packed internally for the internal staff, then we're gonna push it out to our vendors, which will allow them to upload their own invoices electronically, which will help speed up the turnarounds for receiving payments. So that's a great thing that we have going on. Also, I know once before, I talked to you all about our maintenance staff as far as receiving electronic devices. All maintenance staff at this point have received those devices. And I know public housing is working with small pilot groups to make sure that they, to address the needs and work with the pilot groups at specific sites to test and make sure that everything is working as should be when it comes to closing out those work orders. And finally, I want to talk about we have some more improvements coming on, like in HR, which we're using our onboarding process and the management of our performance evaluations. So we have electronic process in place for that as well to kind of streamline that, taking away from a paper process. So those are some of the improvements that we're currently making in IT.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
So Commissioner, I'm going to go over the org chart.
which is subject to change throughout the fiscal year as we go through this reorg. So I'm only gonna go over the departments. You have the executive department. Community Safety Department. The Administration Department. Public Relations Department. Finance Department. Real Estate Development Department. Wine and Family Service Department. Rental Assistance Programs Department. Property Operations Department. And again, this would change throughout the fiscal year due to the reorg. Thank you. Attachment F, next is the grievance procedures. This is already included in our ACOP admissions and continued occupancy policy, but nothing is new with this procedure. Everything is just the same. Any questions on that? Is a home ownership program.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Mars, if you can just briefly just share what the grievance procedures is for. You know, we have new members, we want to make sure they're aware.
Grievance procedure, it can be when employee or actually a resident in this case, but for employee, if they have a disciplinary action they don't agree with, they request a grievance procedure. When they can actually go to HR, well, they can request it with the manager, then it goes to HR. If they do not like the disciplinary action that they have received, or they want to appeal the process, the CEO can get, give their decision on what the disciplinary process is, approve or denial. If they do not, and they want to contest or appeal that decision, then it can go to the board.
I was under the assumption that if it was in here, that we made some type of revision to that policy or procedure. We didn't make any revisions to that.
It will make any to that.
Mhm.
We have not discussed making any to that.
And
Correct.
sometimes, Chairman, the HUD requires us to keep a standing procedure in place.
Mhm.
Even if we have not made changes, we'll just say that we have that procedure in place. They won't allow us to keep it in.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I was just making sure we didn't make any revisions to it.
Oh, no,
And if we did, that's fine. I just wanted to know what they
Right.
were. So,
yeah, they have it. There's no changes to that.
okay. Thank you.
Did we not at some point, as far as our handbook goes, look into the grievance and kind of reporting procedures? I thought we at least did that pretty recently.
Yes, in our HR policy, we did go over the grievance, but this grievance policy is more or less not the HR policy, but when someone has a concern as relates to Section 8. or- Okay.
Just for
But
clients
just for
and not
clients, and
employees.
yes.
Okay.
Is your part's not in the grievance procedure? Okay. Okay. But you're correct, Commissioner Fantastic. We did do a change, but it was employee procedures.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yes.
Any more questions?
Thank you.
The next part on attachment G is going to be for home ownership. We did make a change to our administrative plan this past fiscal year or the past few months. And what we did is included that a family that is on our home ownership program, they have the opportunity, if they like, to get back on the regular HCV program, rental program. However, they must sell their home that they have in order to get back on that program. And also I go down and those listed units, we have 14 HCV home ownership units and 35 public housing home ownership units. That's all for home ownership.
Ms. French.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay. Okay. We're going to go over the FSS and Ross programs. On page 45, you'll see, I'm sorry, let's go back to page 40. At the end of 44. Where it gives a little summary of where we are or where we were as of December 31st, 2021. As you can see, the FSS program is is split between public housing and Section 8 or HCB. The required number for public housing was 100. We're at 102. Section 8 was 50. As you can tell, we're way over 50 at 130. You should move over to Ross. Okay, there's Ross. Ross is at 3 sites: Illiton Village, Kimbrough Homes, and Cooper Green. All sites are required numbers of 50. As you can tell, with the exception of Kimbrough Homes, we're well over those goals as of 12/31/2021. The only reason why we're there with Kimbrough started in the middle of the year. So we ended out over half of where we should have been starting in the middle of that year. So we'll scoot over here to our goals. The only goals that have changed, overall goals. Goal number 2, we decided to make our goals a little bit more quantitative at 2%, and that's going to help us keep track of how we are helping our participants on the line, on the program. Also, goal 3 is the same. We've made it the escrow. We wanted to increase the number of FSS program participants with an escrow accounted by 2% annually. And then we added goal number 6 is to ensure FSS participants exit the program in good standing with both the program and the agency. We updated the family demographics. In the middle, we just did our research and updated our demographics for the population of the agency. Approximately 97% African-American, which is public housing, 98% African-American, Section 8, 1% white, and 2% other racial groups. That has been updated, and that's on page 46.
Ms. French, just real quick, under goal 1,
Yes,
it says increase and maintain participation rate to 100%.
yes.
Say more about that. What does that mean?
Okay, so increase and maintain the participation rate in the FSS program. So in the program, sometimes you have people that'll get on the program and they're stagnant. So our goal is to make sure everyone who participates, who signs up for FSS, they are participating in the program. Because we do have some that, like I said, they just may fall off. They're not interested or they lose interest, but our goal is to make sure that we pretty much holding their hands at 100%.
And also to add to that, it's a 5-year program where they set goals. We want to ensure that they set attainable goals.
Yes.
And goals that'll help them move up and out of public housing or Section 8. So those are some things that we want to ensure 100% is being done.
Okay, the next change, and this is changing due to the rules, the program coordinating committee, that's the PCC board. That is changing. If you'll flip over to the next page, 48, you'll see this is the criteria to be on this board. And it's pretty much, this is a board that helps the
Move your
program.
screen, Ms.
I'm
Rich.
sorry. So the PCC board is the board that pretty much they help the participants, they help us as an agency make sure that we're offering the resources that we need to help the program to be successful. They help us with fundraising, you know, with the golf tournament and anything else we do here as an agency to provide more resources for the participants. Okay, and those are the only changes to the FSS program. If you'll flip over to 60, we'll touch on section 3. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Okay, so the changes to section 3, they're pretty much the same as FSS as far as visual changes, and that's to goal number 1, to increase section 3 participation on all section 3 covered construction and non-construction contracts and services contracts by 2%. That's pretty much the only change. Section 3 has changed. The change went into effect November 2020. We are in the process of updating our section 3 policy for this year. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Again, Director Foreman is out today, so I will be giving you a brief description of safety and crime prevention. The Birmingham Police Department agreement was approved by the Board of Commissioners on March 1st, 2022. The agreement allows Birmingham Police Department to cover 13 HABD communities. In addition, HABD has several programs in place to secure the safety of our residents. We plan to establish an in-house HABD Police Department to deter, respond to, and investigate criminal activity in all HABD's own properties. Statement on deferred maintenance, living conditions in public housing sites. There's a yearly inspection required by HUD. Every public housing unit or site is inspected by the Uniform Physical Condition Standard Protocol. There is a detailed report that we receive. In that report, it includes the conditions of the units, housekeeping, scoring, and deficiencies that they found in our units. We have a contract that we contract out a company to come in to do these inspections for us. So, once we get those, of course, we go in and we make the deficiencies, the repairs that they found for these reports. I think we hadn't had one since 2019, prior to COVID. At the bottom of the at the bottom of the page, it has the effects that we've had on COVID, our maintenance staff and our management that the COVID had. And up here, it says that the reasons that
We haven't done our preventive maintenance plan, and we're starting to work on our maintenance plan. We've had employee absentees, check supply chain, client endless, school closures. It has made operations challenging for us, but we are getting ready to work on maintenance, our preventive maintenance plans, and we're currently getting ready for React. So we do have them out working for React. Any questions?
I've got just a couple kind of earlier on some of the comments. The comments about our own police department. Is that something that is going to be included in this report or in this plan?
The lease department?
Police.
Police department. The plan about just establishing a police department that Ms. Todd
Oh,
had
Ms.
mentioned. Commissioner Fantasis, Ms. Todd said that was just something that is proposed and it's a aspiration for the upcoming.
Okay, I just didn't see it in the actual plan, so and obviously it's hasn't been super vetted at this point. So just interesting to hear that. And one other thing I noticed was we mentioned it later in our paperwork, but we don't really mention the cameras and license plate detection devices that have been installed. Is that something that needs to be included in this part of the submission or not?
That was something.
So yes, Commissioner Fantasis, it is included in our report on page 62 through 63 that indicate it shares information relates to all the program that we have in place and that we're implementing for this year, which includes the in-house HABD policy, the police department. And so we just indicate that, those are, as Chairman Hood mentioned, those are some of the aspirations that we want to start implementing this year. So we just kind of just have to make a statement in the annual plan to say this is what's forthcoming without putting it full details. It kind of gives us opportunity, gives us an option to move in that direction, without actually having those details in place at this point. And also because of the delicacy of our putting the information out about our criminal preventions, we kind of left it very limited due to that as well.
I had a question.
Okay.
One second. Go ahead, Vice Chair Pantas, like you had a follow-up.
No, that's it. That's
Okay. Thanks. Commissioner
Okay.
Lawrence.
On page 64, it was talking about the inspections. I believe she said we haven't done one since 2019 due to COVID. Is that correct? So are we starting back this year or? Okay.
Yes, we actually had our first inspection last week, so
Okay.
we're currently back in process.
Thanks. Good questions.
One more. This
Mm,
is,
go
this
ahead.
is public housing. So what about, well, I guess that would include all of.
We all rest of-
it would
Yes.
include all-
So Ms. Morris, I want to come back up, Ms. Martin, just share with us how the React scores work, what do they cover and what's the scores indicate?
The inspections, they cover health and safety. They grade on housekeeping, health and safety. They grade outside and inside the unit, say the grounds for the site, and then they will score on the common areas as well. They do occupied units. They don't do vacant units. So the scores they have on our last score was 76. That was at Tuxedo, the one that I received. That's the last one. Ms. Foster, did you receive any other ones?
No, that's the only one we've got.
Okay.
scored.
So in the scores, they're graded on, they have like level 1, 2, and level 3. 3 being your health and safety. Those are the biggest hits you could take.
So we got 76 is out of 100 or,
Yes, that's correct.
okay.
And so we receive, these are inspections that are done by HUD. They send us their inspectors. We don't know who they are once they arrive. And so what they do is they come out and inspect each site. And like as she indicated, the areas that they're inspecting. So what they do is they send us a report like Tuxedo Terrace was the site that just got, we had an inspection on, got the 76. And so they do is they send us a deficiency report and allow us to clear those deficiencies.
Gotcha.
And some of those clearances can improve our scores, and some are just our scores remain the same. So we do have the opportunity to do that.
Thank you.
All right, good afternoon. Attachment K, substantial deviation. As we go into some of the new activities, we'll talk a little bit about RAD, but as it relates to RAD provisions or RAD program, we'll continue to make changes to the capital fund budget, changes to construction rehabilitation plan for any approved RAD conversions. And so that'll be a little bit more, Ms. Foster, in terms of the new activities and what we're doing with the Thrive 2035 plan.
Attachment L is just a definition of the significant amendment modification to the agency plan. And it just identifies the items that would require us to amend the agency plan. Whoops, you went past it. It's at page 66 at the top. Okay, right there, right, whoops, right there. There you go. Any changes to admissions policies, screening policies, rent policies, the waiting list, the use of reserve funds for under the capital fund grant, or any changes to property that will be subject to demolition disposition. Anything like that would require an amendment to the agency plan. So I'm going to talk about some of our new activities that we have in this plan. If you go over to page 68. The first thing on page 68, and actually Hope 6 is no longer available, so we don't have any Hope 6, but Choice Neighborhoods is, and we had previously applied for a Choice Neighborhood grant. We do intend to apply for an available Choice Neighborhood grant during this next agency plan cycle. We've listed multiple properties. We are looking at Smithfield, but we wanted to have the opportunity to identify whether a Choice Neighborhood would be appropriate for any of the other properties that are listed here as well. And then over on the next page on 69, this is the conversion of our public housing to project-based assistance under the RAD program. This is our Thrive 2035 plan that we've are rolling out. And this talks about it being the strategic framework that we're going to use to reposition our public housing portfolio. And if you go over to the next page, on page 70, it actually shows all of the properties and what the anticipated repositioning strategy would be. You can see everything from Ellington down to Roosevelt, basically would all be a RAD and a Section 18 blend. This is a component that HUD provided that's a new tool under the RAD program that allows you to create higher revenue to be able to support the level of rehab or the redevelopment that would be done on each of these properties. And then some of our newer properties, Park Place, Tuxedo, and Glenbrook, those would be straight RAD conversions. I'm still on the chart, the straight RAD conversions, because they don't have the same level, because they're newer properties, they're in better condition. They don't have the same level of work that needs to be done to reposition those. And then finally, you have our properties that are right now traditional public housing, but were intended to be home ownership units. We are looking at submitting a Section 32 home ownership program that will enable us to take them out from the public housing program and be able to sell those to the residents. The rest of this section goes on to talk about the various things that are done under RAD, the various resident protections, which I think are really important to point out, is as we do the repositioning of the public housing, there are built-in guaranteed protections for residents. At the top of page 71, it starts that section. Basically, it says that any existing resident is protected through no rescreening upon conversion. They have a guaranteed right to return if they have to move off the property, either for rehab or redevelopment. They do have a guaranteed right to return. Their lease must be renewed. It will not be terminated. If for any reason there was a rent increase, it would phase in over a 3-year period, which also provides protections. Over on page 72, it goes on to identify resident protections. The resident organizations would continue to receive the funding that they receive under the public housing program to support their organizations. And it also goes on then to highlight the procedural rights. Two of the critical things that remain for protection under residents under RAD is that for non-payment of rent, residents would continue to receive a 14-day notice versus the 5-day notice under state law. That's a protection from public housing that would carry over. And the grievance procedure that was reviewed a little bit earlier would also be carried over into the RAD program. And so that's really kind of the highlight of the resident protections and the highlight of the RAD provisions that are required to be in the agency plan. Thank you.
Any questions?
Good, thanks.
I'll step in for Director Foreman again. The occupancy by police officers. The occupancy by police officers, currently HABD has an on-site courtesy officer that resides at Freedom Manor. He is responsible for assisting management and providing a courtesy presence among residents whenever on the property and assisting management in the enforcement of rules and regulations regarding all common and recreational areas. Have any questions?
Is this a revision?
It's ongoing. We didn't really change anything.
I'll just make sure.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Thanks.
We say it's a continuation until we're able to get funding for security over at Freedom Manor.
Okay, so.
Get Ms. Lewis started now. Attachment P.
All right, as we explained a little bit about it in the Thrive 2035 plan, but as we use one of the tools that HUD has provided and convert the properties over, we will implement the project-based vouchers within those. Southtown Court is one of the current developments that is being redeveloped under the conversion method of Section 18, which is currently using project-based vouchers.
Cindy, you came off mute. Were you about to say something?
No, I just didn't realize that section was there. So thank you, Christy.
And I just state for attachment Q, they're just indicating some of our fire damage units that we had to report, within the fiscal year. To just list those buildings. So Cindy, this time we'll go over the capital grant program.
Still on mute. Can you pull up page 95? Page 95 is the summary of the 5-year plan under the capital improvement program. And in 21, we received $12.8 million. We never know from year to year exactly how much we're going to receive. So we just program out 22 at the same amount. And then we have it going back down a little bit in 23, 24, and 25 on the basis that normally it does decrease. So this just kind of lays out the plans for each year. Whoops, that stay right on that page. Thank you. And we took a little different approach in the capital fund program than we have in the past. HUD allows you to bring 20% of your total capital funds directly over to operations. And so what we've done is we've now budgeted to bring those funds over to operations and then be able to fund smaller capital projects directly from operating budgets versus from the capital fund program. So the funds that are targeted in here for capital funds really are dealing more with the repositioning strategies, where we will have these funds available to assist with repositioning each of the properties. That's pretty much the summary. The rest of the backup that you see is the detailed information. And it all references the repositioning through section 18 and or RAD. So.
Want me to go back up?
Thank you.
Progress report. Okay, attached, we have the progress report. It's just statements regarding HABD's progress made towards meeting goals in the previous 5-year plan. And our 5-year plan began in 2020. So it's just a list of goals that we're meeting. I don't know if you guys have any specific questions regarding that.
I like the way you guys laid all this out in here. I think it's good. And obviously some of it's from a little before this previous 5-year plan or this current 5-year plan, but I think there's some good stuff in there. So it was good to see.
Thank you. And also we have attached the Resident Advisory Board. We met with them last week and we've attached the questions that were discussed and our corresponding answers. Gotta have any questions about those?
And these were answered on the spot, or these something that we're following back up?
On the spot.
Okay.
And Commissioner Lewis was in that meeting, so if she wanted to share a little
Yeah.
bit about it, she can.
She was asking, did you want to say anything about that meeting?
No, we approved everything.
Okay.
We went through it step by step. And the ones that they didn't understand was explained to them. And everybody agreed, so everybody's on board. So we had no objections.
Thank you.
Great. It's good to hear. Thank you.
So this pretty much concludes the public hearing. If there's any concerns or questions, comments that were made during a public hearing, we would take those questions and comments and add them to our draft annual plan for completion for submission. We would have to come back and request for a vote for approval through a special board meeting. Our submission date is April 15th, so anytime before that time, we would come back and request for approval.
So what I'm hearing is probably in the next 2 weeks, we'll call for a special board meeting to approve the plan.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We do have a tentative date of April 5th for Ms. Beals to reach out to fold it for your availability, for the commission's availability.
Okay.
Yeah.
At this time, the floor is open. If anybody has additional questions or comments, both in person and virtually. Yes. If you don't mind, can you approach the podium? You don't mind, state your name as well.
Hi, my name is Tara Cook.
Thanks, Cook.
Yes, and I'm a resident at Tuxedo Terrace. And I've been over there about 4 years, maybe, I think 4 years going on 5. And when I first moved over there, it was under the operation from some company in Atlanta.
Cool.
And when I first began my residency there, it was two phases, a phase 1 and a phase 2. And I did hear some of the ladies talk about the flat rate phase. And I was under the impression that after a couple of years of being in the phase that I was in, I was supposed to go into the phase of paying rent according to my income. And that never did happen. So I was just wondering what happened. And I tried to get some questions, I tried to get some answers, but I got no answers.
Go ahead, Ms. Foster.
I just wanted to get clarification. When you indicate you was in one phase, and so you can transition to another phase based on your income?
Yes, when I first moved in under the company that was running Tuxedo Terrace by, they were in Atlanta.
Yes, ma'am.
And then
It's a third party
the-
management that we had.
yeah, the complex came under the order of HABD. And I don't know if the system changed or the program changed or how that went, but I was still under the impression that once I went through my 2 years of being over there, I'm paying $675. And after my 2 years, I was supposed to go into paying rent according to my income. And it never did happen. And I was just wondering why, what happened.
I'm not sure which program that is, but we can have a discussion with you, because the only thing I can think is you may have been under market rate and they told you to probably transition you to one of our public housing units, possibly. I'm not sure. We have to verify what program you're actually under. And so I can have staff, Ms. Morris, I see she's writing down, she can get the information from you, and we can provide the information to you to ensure, that was the status. Because we don't actually have a program at Tuxedo Terrace that allows you to be in the program for 2 years and you switch over. We don't have that at
I
Tuxedo
was,
Terrace.
listening to the hearing or whatever, and I'm interested in the home ownership program or the self-sufficiency program. Any of those two will be helpful to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Because
So,
I have children and we got to do something different.
thank you. Ms. French gonna meet you at the door. Raise your hand. So we were glad to have you on our program.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cook.
Thank you.
Anybody else have questions about the annual plan? Any questions, comments, or feedback about the annual plan? Yes, please. Good afternoon.
My name is Devetta Brown. I'm a resident as well with the Tuxedo Terrence, as well as Mr. Wilkerson back there. Just by us three being here, that might be an indication to you all that there are some issues. But I'm not gonna be up here long. I wrote down a couple pages, but I'm just gonna start from the beginning and make it really, really quick.
And Ms. Brown, is this specifically about the annual plan?
It's about the plan
Okay.
and some things that were mentioned.
Yes, ma'am.
I acquired one of the houses down there for a temporary reason from coming out of a divorce and having a drop in income. I went through the home buying process. I've spoke with several people. We went through the home buying I went through the home buying process to acquire their house, to buy it. And my plans was to move on in about a year or two. That hasn't happened. That's been since 17. So I have been speaking back and forth with several peoples about why was I led to go into home buying to buy this house, and come to find out I couldn't, because quote unquote, it was deeded incorrectly. Now, after a couple of years, things just went on and kind of went by the wayside as if our situation doesn't matter. I spoke with several people. I'll be up here all day if I call their names. I tried to get a meeting with Mr. Northern way before he retired. I emailed him back in May. Fast forward to, it's been 5 years now. I don't have a problem with the house because it's a benefit for me, because I'm at a place now where I'm getting ready to move on to better and greener pastures, because I fought not just for me. When I speak for everybody, not just in Tuxedo Project, because I'm a product of Tuxedo when it was the old brickyard. I speak for everybody.
Me too.
All of the housing authority, period. So I'm saying that to say this. We voice concerns. I voice concerns through emails, through
a public appearance showing up at the Housing Authority. I just went down there in January about some issues. Me and Mr. Wickerson are block watchers. I just got nominated block watch this last week by teleconference with Ms. Miriam. We discussed some things that's been going on in the community, some things we didn't know about. If one person tells us one thing, something else is another. So here's my whole point. I have a humongous desire to see not just Tuxedo projects grow and stay safe, but the things that need to be fixed, stay fixed. I live across the street from an empty lot. The grass gets higher than me. I have to keep calling. I call 311 all the time about things down there in our city of Birmingham, period. I'm just one of those persons. I am just a concerned person. And I understand each one of you all have a duty to do. I understand it. But you can't be a fair housing entity and don't treat us fair. And when you mentioned that Tuxedo made a C, you're correct. My house has a couple of repairs. I've called for them, they haven't gotten done. And it's okay, because I know there are other things better that needed to be fixed. And I'm one of those patient people. But at the end of the day, we have issues in our community. Safety, we just found out that the lights, I think the lights that hang over this way, you guys are responsible for, and the straight up lights belongs to Alabama Power. I may have it backwards, I didn't bring those notes. But I said that all to say this. I'm one of the ones that look out my window all day. At night, if I hear noise, I call 911, non-emergency number, 311. Just know, if you all don't know nothing else about Tuxedo Terrace, you have some concerned people down there. 2 of them is here. I got to meet her, I think, at a meeting we had a couple years ago. But we have been misled. I have been misled. That I went into home buying, got a special loan to buy that house, and I did. And I was told that I was going to buy it in a year. That year has came and gone. I'm there to fight for what's right until I leave. And lastly, there's a young lady in my community. She's in a wheelchair. She was born that way. She lives in an apartment. I live in a handicapped accessible house. She's been denied twice a handicapped accessible home. I'm not handicapped. I have a back issue, but I'm not handicapped. I went to the Housing Authority specifically and spoke with, I think, Ms. Holmes, and asked her, would you all please put in black and white, when I move out, grant this young lady my house. She's handicapped, she's stuck to a wheelchair. Her husband does help her, but they are in need of a house. And I can go on all day, but just know, Devetta Brown at 1516 21st Street, Ensley, care. Mr. Wilkerson on Avenue Q cares. We all care. We're trying to build a community down there where people can feel like if they got an issue, they can open up and it can be talked about and it can be resolved. But a lot of things not being resolved. But I have given up on my frustration part, because I feel like I've done my time down there, and I'm gonna continue to do what I need to do until I'm blessed to go elsewhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Ms. Foster, you want to respond?
I do. Thank you for bringing those to our attention. There has been some changes along the way within those years that has issues that have been going on with our easement. But what we will do is we will ensure to schedule a meeting for Tuxedo Terrace to have a resident meeting to discuss all those things that are going on, and can address those and bring some resolutions to some of those things that are happening. And if even so, just to update you on where we are today as it relates to those to the property owned at Tuxedo Terrace, particularly in the housing part, because Tuxedo do have 2 phases, one with our apartments and one where we have the houses on land. So we'll have a meeting with the group to have those discussions. So thank you for bringing those to our attention.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Willie Wilkerson. I've been living there about 4 or 5 years, and I work for a security engineer, of course, and used to customer service too, and bank, schools, resource officers, different things. I like the community. I grew up out there. I played sports out there and all that. I don't look at my teeth if they're in the shop. my teeth at the shop. I'm sorry. But anyway, I have some concerns when I first moved over there. In my breezeway, it was some stuff going on, so I stood up to it. And they kind of fall back a little bit, but there's some single women out there too, and afraid they don't have a voice, silent. And I'm one of these kind of persons. I like to, build character up in people. I know where I've been, but I don't know where I'm going. So that community has changed. I've changed. I mean, I'm 65 years old now, almost. But we still got some young people out there, and they still do what they do. They smoking their meth. And I had some concerns about some signs in the parking lot, and the lights, of course, it's on the curve that belong to Alabama Power, which is, Birmingham Housing Authority, HUD, is responsible for. And it's been kind of dragging a little bit. I don't know why. I know service calls, it should be handled like in a way to show the community, like Mount Brook, that, okay, we're busy over here too. And I have to just bring that awareness to the community. I'm part of it. I don't mind being a block captain, but I love the community too as well. Things that need to happen, they need to stop dragging it. And I have a lot of single women, older women, afraid cars, parking in the parking lot, smoking. Maintenance, departments are leaking. They're not above elevation according to code on any construction. I used to be a builder too as well. I can tell you all the reference too. But it's flooding out there. Some of the lower balconies, it's gonna get that blowing rain. Some of the weep holes around the brick, like it's below grade, and it's getting in there, causing mold around the carpet, and these ways of, leaking, they're about to fall in. Some of the balconies and sheetrock, it just, I can find a million things that's wrong with that subdivision. Okay, from grade up. All right, who she is, Barn Associates?
Yes, sir.
That's what I thought. Now you know about real estate, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Don't pay me, I ain't no fussy. But it's appalling, just waste money. And my last concern is 13 years when Deutsche Bank had that site. And it went well, but they pushed all this debris, the blocks, the brick, the concrete, behind the office. I got pictures on my phone right now. I can show you that this debris has been behind this office, the leasing office, for 13 years. In front of her house. We go slabs of concrete that they left out there. It's just awful. Why is this out here? It's enough going on. Lumps of concrete out there where the lawn service people can't even mow the lawn right because of that. It just needs to be addressed, man. It's just awful. I don't understand it. It's $9 million here. $9 million. Those are little bitty things. $9 million go around this whole world, man. Feed all these people. Fish and some bread. And these people will be happy if their souls are happy. If you don't get their souls happy, man, they ain't gonna see it. They ain't gonna feel it. They ain't gonna have no understanding. So you got to feed their spirit too. And let them know that you with them. And I do my part. But I don't want nobody to throw me on the bus. I've been through all that. So I've been working with Ken Foreman, so, you know, I'm trying to get on the page with him. We can work this out. If we don't. If we don't, they gonna be no more like me. Yeah. It's gonna be like, Central City downtown. They spent that money over and over and over and over. They finally tore it down. It ain't bad now, but it's.
Thank you, Ms. Wilkerson.
Thank
Appreciate you.
Thank
Any other questions or comments about the annual plan? Yes, Ms. Cook? Mm-hmm. Ms. Foster? Mm-hmm. She's the interim president and CEO. She's the interim president and CEO. So we'll make sure you have her contact information. Right, last call for questions or comments about the annual plan.
Chairman Hood, you mind if I chime in for 2 seconds?
Please, go ahead.
Couple comments just here and everything. One, is our Office of Constituent Concerns still up and running strong?
It is. Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, I just wanted to highlight that it sounds like our clients are still working through the proper channels there. They've got Mr. Foreman and Ms. Foster's info, but just highlighting that issue in case anyone listening has similar concerns, that we go through those channels so we can document it and keep track of it and make sure we know what the progress is. And so then secondarily, just about the report or the plan, just kudos to the staff for putting all that together. I know it's a lot of work. I thought it looked good. And, top to bottom, I think addresses everything on the checklist that we need to for HUD. One thing that I think we've talked about a couple of times in the past is particularly trying to make sure we're incorporating our annual plan into the 5-year plan, making sure we're using that as a guide for us throughout the year. And I think they did a good job with that this time. One thing I would like for us to do, particularly for our community partners, is as we move through the year, I know we got to get this submitted in the format that's required, but I'd really like to look at more of an executive summary of the plan, how it relates to our 5-year plan and what it is for our fiscal year reporting. And, really giving everyone a real clean 4 or 5 page snapshot of everything we've got going on. Because I think sometimes people are trying to figure out exactly all the work that's being done at the Housing Authority. And I think having that sort of summary, like some other agencies do, would be helpful to us to put on the website and to give kind of a real idea of everything that we have happening.
That's a really good point, Vice Chair Pantazis. That's something we can do, Ms. Foster.
Absolutely. I agree. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Yes, Mr. Wilkerson. I do too. I'm glad you called it to our attention. That's unacceptable.
I saw it. He's at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go out there and look at it myself.
Chairman Hood, it's hard to hear whatever's happening in the items.
Thank you, Commissioner Thompson. Mr. Wilkerson was just reiterating that debris that's behind the leasing office in Tuxedo. And so I was just mentioning that I want to go out there personally and see that, because he said it's been out there for 13 years. And so.
But the thing about it is, I'm sure that the Birmingham, was on the chairman part of the board of directors behind Deutsche Bank, and when nothing happening, and I'm sure all that was in the fiscal year planning stage, and when nobody going behind nobody checking nothing.
Checks and balances.
It's awful. I mean, like, we got these strikers coming out there doing this work, landscaping, hollering and screaming at the guys, not being professional, just half doing the work. It's appalling. It ain't nobody coming behind nobody. It's just piling up. That's what I want to say about that debris.
Yes,
That
sir.
was terrible.
Yes, sir.
And I just want to say on behalf of the agency, we apologize that that has happened so long and no attention has been brought to that. But we assure you today, we hear you and we're going to have it addressed. Ms. Mars, her team is going to be on site to evaluate that area, along with other visits will be done by the commissioner and myself. So we're ensured that action will take place. So thank you so much for bringing it to our awareness.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Wilkerson. I see, I know a couple of our elected officials are on the call. I just wanted to give either of them an opportunity if they would care to speak. I see Councilor O'Quinn and Councilor Carol Clark on the line. So the floor is open to you if you'd like to say anything. And if not, that's okay as well.
I'll just say hats off to everyone for the hard work. It's been a pleasure just to, listen in and learn a little more about the annual plan. So let me just ask, what are the ways to make comments if someone wanted to make a comment to the plan outside of the public hearing? Is there another way to do that?
Yes, we have a 45-day comment period that we put out prior to the public hearing. Actually, the public hearing is the last meeting that we have to allow any comments or questions to be asked.
Okay.
And is
Well,
that
in that
email or
case-
phone number, or how do they actually submit those comments?
Yes, they submit those comments through email, phone numbers indicated. We publicize it on our website, in the newspaper, Birmingham Times and Birmingham News. And so during that comment period, and we also put the draft plan out on our website and distribute it into different locations as well for review.
In that case, I would like to just make a comment. Regarding the Section 8 program, it looks like you all are possibly instituting a provision where new voucher holders will receive a briefing of some sorts, maybe the landlord and the voucher holder, or the voucher holder will be briefed on how to communicate with the landlord about the program. Is that correct? That might have been in Ms. Drake's section. My question is, and I don't know how this would be accomplished, but it strikes me that it would be good if new voucher holders could also get some pointers about, because they may be moving out of public housing into, say, a home that's not attached, not a multifamily community, that they might be briefed. We might find some kind of way to brief them on some of the city code provisions as it relates to, the lawn ordinance and the, garbage collection. And I'm just saying, those are maybe things people might need to know a little more about, that we could help educate them on so that they can integrate more seamlessly into single-family detached environments. It's just a thought, and I don't know how, maybe the city could support that, but I think it would be something good it may help to destigmatize Section 8 in neighborhoods, because some neighbors feel like that's not a positive thing for the neighborhood. And I think we can help it to be more positive. And I think people need so that we're not denying, so that people have opportunities to live in single family detached rental housing, if that's what they desire. And that it's, it's embraced more by neighbors. Does that make sense?
It does. Ms. Drake
Okay,
just came
I
to
didn't
the
know how
floor.
to articulate it, but anyway.
No, I get it. Go ahead, Ms. Drake.
Yes, good afternoon, Ms. Clark. So we do brief all of our families that receive a voucher. That's new admissions, meaning this their first time off the waiting list, and also our voucher holders, once they get updated or a new voucher to move. The part in the annual plan that was changed is the method, because of COVID, our ability to brief them virtually or on any virtual platform. But I do agree, I do think that'll be a great idea to add to their briefing packet, because everyone that receives a voucher also gets a briefing packet. And it has all the rules, everything we talk about in orientation, but we don't currently have current city ordinance in there. And I think that is a good idea, especially as it relates to pick up, as it relates to different areas, and just how to be a good neighbor, you know.
Yeah.
That is thing a long time ago, how to be a good neighbor, briefing book. So yeah, I think that's a good idea, but this plan in here was specifically about our method of communication because of COVID.
I see. Well, thank you. Thank you for clarifying. And if I can support, and I know, Counselor Quinn, he hasn't commented, but he has created something that's a great tool. It's almost like the city code, for dummies like me. It's really been helpful to me. He's got a little code book, but I think providing you something that can help, maybe something, easy, a little, summary could be helpful, because sometimes people just don't know about even the vehicles they may want to store at their home, and what the rules are.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, Councilor Clark. Thank you for that.
We also include in our landlord orientations that we do too. So.
Okay, well, I will get with Councilor O'Quinn, and we'll see how we can support that, if that's something you all want to pursue, how we can help the administration support it and provide the right information.
Yep, I'm seeing and hearing a lot of yeses, Councilor. So
Okay.
thank you and Councilor Quinn for your ongoing partnership. It makes a difference. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, last call. All right, I really appreciate everybody's engagement today. Commissioners, any other questions, comments, or feedback before we adjourn?
No, thank you.
Thanks to everyone for their hard work.
Thanks.
Yes.
Ms. Foster, Attorney French, are we clear to close? Sure. Awesome. Well, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Gotta be.
Okay, you can make the motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we adjourn this meeting, the public hearing for our annual plan. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Any opposed? That item carries. Thank you for everybody. Stay safe and stay on the lookout for a special meeting to vote on this. We adjourned.